Hi, everyone. Welcome to our info session on FourthBrain's machine learning engineering program. Backed by Andrew Ng's AI Fund, FourthBrain helps you accelerate your career, fill knowledge and skills gaps, and build production AI applications. Our instructors and coaches are here to help you through the curriculum, down to the programming syntax level, and through your career search, down to resume bullets and LinkedIn profile and in-mail messaging. Not to mention, our industry-leading community is a give-first place where hundreds of FourthBrain students and alum come together to help each other through each step of their individual ML engineering journeys. In the spirit of a give-first community, let's see if we can start making some connections right now during today's YouTube Live event. Let's share a little bit about ourselves and where we're tuning in from in the chat. I'm Greg Loughnane, the head of product and curriculum at FourthBrain, and I live in Dayton, Ohio. Go ahead and share where you're living and what position you're currently in or what position you'd like to be in. During our last few events, we've provided some of our best insights into how you can become a machine learning engineer in today's challenging job market. We discussed what you need to do to set yourself apart from the competition and what areas that you need to make sure you've got full coverage on when heading out to do serious job searching that is likely to get good results. I'm joined today by James Van, the Director of Career Services, who's been alongside me for the last couple of events. Today's event, James, is going to focus on how FourthBrain is purpose-built to help you achieve your goals. So if you're on the fence about signing up for one of our upcoming cohorts, then you're in the right place today. Following today's presentation, as usual, both myself and James, our Director of Career Services, will be around to answer any questions that you might have remaining as you consider whether or not FourthBrain is right for you. So, James, we're going to go ahead and get into it today. Today, we're just sort of talking about our machine learning engineering program in total. So, we're going to talk first about some of the key ML engineer challenges that job seekers and people looking to grow into the machine learning part of their career really face today. We're going to talk about how FourthBrain is here to develop your competitive advantage, which we've talked a little about in previous events. And we're going to talk about what outcomes you can expect seriously when you join a FourthBrain program. And whether or not you are going to join us for an upcoming cohort, we're going to show you exactly how to get started with some curated content that we've done our best to create over the last year to help individuals like you really get going, whether you join our active bootcamp programs or not. So across all levels of expertise, James, this is something that we're seeing is that individuals are struggling to fill knowledge gaps. So we hear a lot about end-to-end ML ops, deployment and monitoring. We hear about full stack data science. It's not really clear a lot of the times what skills gaps need to be filled, but people know that the gaps are there and that they need to fill them. Obviously, many out there are looking to land a new role in ML, whether that means switching careers, whether it means starting a new career, whether it means moving up within your current company. And building. We've harped on this many times before. Building AI applications using production level code and production tools is so important and such a challenging aspect of coming up to speed in today's market. One of the things that we like to preach at FourthBrain is that the solution to many of the AI problems in the world is people. It's people like you. And remember, whatever organization you're at today, whatever organization you're at tomorrow, you are the talent that is interested in ML, that is interested in AI, and you are the talent that should be getting propped up, that should be getting that feedback from your current company to help them achieve the next level by helping you achieve the next level. And, so often students will come to us and they'll say, what should I be studying or spending time on? James, I think we heard in the last event, So many people were asking us what they should study next. What certificate should I get? Should I study Python versus another language? Should I learn this particular tool stack and get certified in TensorFlow or in PyTorch? Should I get a master's degree? What exactly should I do to get where I need to go? And the things that you need to do are very clear. They're just very wide ranging and tough. And that's why the tools are there, the best practices are there, but it's really, really hard to get a handle on them and really do everything in an end-to-end way without joining a learning community for that support, that encouragement, and that accountability. Last time we talked about gaining your competitive advantage, your +1 across business, across machine learning, and across data science. We talked about how it's important to be proficient at 2 different jobs, namely machine learning and engineering. So here we have sort of the high-level concept, and then we have sort of the tools in brackets. So there's many, many tools that are out there. There are only a few that are super, super worthwhile to learn and really put the time in to be able to develop your end-to-end full stack expertise. But it comes down to, can you prototype AI applications within the notebook? And can you deploy AI applications beyond the notebook and do it in a production-oriented way with version control, with microservices and APIs, with containers, and in the cloud? Okay, so going through this end-to-end process that we talked about does make you stand out. And it's so important, and we're going to continue to talk about this more and more today. The way that we want to really help you hone in on whether or not FourthBrain is right for you is by drawing the line that represents end-to-end across the FourthBrain curriculum. So when you come to FourthBrain, and you may have looked at the syllabus and the curriculum already, the first thing that we talk about is the AI product development lifecycle. This is the starting point for your learning. This is the business understanding. This is figuring out why, what problem am I solving? And only much further down the line, after we've prototyped our application, after we've learned a lot of the tools that are out there to help us during that prototyping phase to find something that really works, then we're going into a phase where we're doing not just manual MLOps deployments, but automated MLOps deployments. We're automating pipelines, we're automating our workflows, and we're simply putting this thing that was sitting in a notebook into a production-oriented environment that's fully automated. This is the finish line. This is the end-to-end nature that we want to be able to describe in our projects. We don't want to just say, hey, I did a bunch of cool stuff in notebooks that are all kind of not really saved well and everything died and never really saw the light of day. We want to have a good story to tell, and that story needs an ending. So this is what we mean by structuring your learning in an end-to-end way. The things that we've seen come out of this project-based learning approach have been amazing. And you can check out some of these capstone projects for yourself at fourthbrain.ai/capstone projects. We'll drop the link in the chat right now. From art gallery personalizers, which obviously you can do a ton of this today with some of the new diffusion models coming out on the market, to industry supported projects focused on imaging. We've got very, very interesting projects supporting imaging of eyes, imaging of tumors, imaging of many different aspects of applying computer vision and explainability to healthcare. We've also got some really awesome success stories that have come out of project-based learning at FourthBrain. For example, Student Stats was a project that has now become Harkness.ai, Harkness AI. Jason Brooks is the founder of Harkness AI and a former FourthBrain graduate. And actually just recently did an event with deep learning on the big stage with deep learning just a few weeks ago on founding an AI startup. because he's recently sought funding. He's found some. He's started to build out his team. He is doing really amazing things with what started as a simple project-based learning capstone project at FourthBrain. So if you've got entrepreneurial ambitions, the answer is yes. This is something that FourthBrain can support. But that's not necessarily what everybody's into. And, check out that event. We'll drop the link for that event in the chat as well. And so we structure the syllabus to be able to help you land that machine learning engineer job, to help you build something that can prove out that you can build what needs to be built. And beyond that is really not your purview. So we start off with software basics. This is the software development environment that you're going to be using. We focus first on the data because everything starts with data in today's machine learning world. Data-centric approaches are everywhere. It's more important to be a subject matter expert on the data than it is to be a subject matter expert on most models today. We do talk a bit about modeling, but in many cases, we're using modeling as a proxy for doing modeling iterations and doing version control, or creating a model, deploying the model, and putting a nice application front end on that model so that we can interact with it in a more sophisticated way. We talk about AI applications from computer vision to natural language processing to even the foundation models that, this is the new terminology that's out and about, talking about sort of large scale models that can be adapted to many other tasks. The most prevalent example is the new diffusers library that Hugging Face has just released. So from transformers to diffusers, foundation models is covered in AI applications. And of course, ML Ops is about putting things into production. And the tools that we're going to really focus and triple down on in our programs that we've been seeing great results with are Fast API for building web applications and APIs, Docker for containerization, and AWS for cloud computing. We've got the syllabus available for you right now. This is the most recent updated version, and we're going to drop that link in the chat right now as well. Okay, so our structured learning recommendations, there's a lot of text on this slides. Just focus with me for a second on just the bolded pieces here. Starts with data and modeling, okay? Then get your software dev environment set up. You got to learn version control, how to build an API, and how to do containerization. And beyond that, that's when it gets time to move away from tools and move in to an end-to-end application. There's some details here on what we'd recommend for that. This is really digging into the syllabus and the meat and potatoes of what we're really trying to train at FourthBrain. Happy to answer any questions on this in the chat later on, but I'll leave this up for just another second for you to try to kind of take it in. Remember, end to end is the priority. Okay, just know too that if you wait another year, the list is going to be longer. Everything changes from year to year in AI. It's a tough market to keep up in. We discussed this at length over the past two sessions that we've done. And it's so true that if you wait until 2023 into 2024, it's going to be a heavier lift. So better to try to get up to speed now, join a community today that's going to, in the future, be there for you, continuing to give those returns on your investment with people that are also trying to keep up with the state of the art, also trying to push themselves in the same direction, and also trying to keep up with that growing list of things to learn and things to include in their end-to-end understanding. Okay, so if you're ready to fast track your career, now is really the time. James, now is the time, right? Like right now. And why is that?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Now really is an excellent time if you're thinking about making the move and furthering your career in AI. Now is a really good time for the following reason. If we look back at historical hiring data, we know that around the holidays, things slow down. People, take vacation, they spend time with their families and whatnot. So it's a little bit of a downtime, and then it bounces back in correlation, mostly I think with companies' new fiscal year budgets when they come into play. And we typically see that come back in late January, early February, and then it continues on into spring. So if you're starting to think about like the start date, I think our next start date is in this December, and you finish in early spring, you're really finishing at a time when there's peak hiring happening in the industry in terms of, again, that sort of calendar year and that ebb and flow, that cyclical nature of hiring. It's a great time to graduate because you're just, boom, you're right there in the center of it all, and it's happening right then and there. So in addition to sort of like not waiting because like, you know, hey, the train is leaving the station and you got to get on that train and get going, calendar wise, now is a good time. So I get a lot of questions about, prospective students coming into the program, like, hey, James, tell me a little bit about, what I can expect. Hey, I'm going to be looking for a new job. What can I expect from you? But also, like, what can I expect? What's it going to look like if I am a job seeker looking for a new job in ML, and especially if I haven't done it before? So here's a couple of high-level stats that might be helpful as you make your decisions, and we can kind of zoom in from there. So 27K, that's the average increase in salary for our job seeking graduates. So incoming versus, new job. So I'm most proud of this stat because this is real tangible results. I also am proud of it because, like, hey, it costs a little bit of money to come to our program, but that is a return on your investing. You're investing in yourself, and the output is it's proven that you're more valuable coming out of the program. And so I'm proud to be a part of a program that does that. Average new salary coming out of the program, 160K. And again, this is US based. It's across the entire US. So obviously, depending on where you are location, it's going to vary a little bit, but that is the average salary that you can expect. We might kind of start to see locations sort of standardize a little bit depending on what the future of remote work looks like. But again, that's a particular stat. In terms of employment, 86% over the course of our existence, over 6 months. So we take a snapshot at 6 months and again at 9 months. So 86% of those job seekers get a job within 6 months, and then add another 6% at 9 months. We do take a snapshot at 9 months, simply because there are a lot of our students are employed, and so they tend to take their time a little bit, versus some other places that I've worked at. So in other words, hey, James, I've got a pretty good job right now, but I want something better, right? And so those they tend to be a little bit pickier. So it's good for us to kind of take that snapshot again at 6 months and again at 9 months. So diving in a little bit more. So typically our placement rate falls within 80 to 100% for each cohort, right? It varies a little bit, just sort of depending on the makeup and outcomes. My sort of comment to each incoming student, if we were to set up a one-on-one with me, is that based on our curriculum, the community that we've built, and if you put in the effort and there's proven things that I know as a career coach that you can do in order to get a job, if you put all those things together, I'm confident that you can get a job within 6 months. It's a proven plan. So stick to the plan, join our community. That's the message. The average time to hire is 92 days. So again, about 3 months after the program, a lot of our students get a job within a new job within 3 months. Giving you an update. So given our current market conditions, maybe you have questions about that. Our MLE 6, which graduated, we're coming up on the 6 month mark. They're currently at 91% employed of those job seekers. The one following them, their 6 month mark is beginning of March. They're currently at 27%. And I would expect that number actually to go up quite a bit in the new year, because there's some commitments from companies, and they're waiting for new budgets. MLE 8 was just graduated recently. Their 6-month mark is in April, and they're currently at 20%. All three of these cohorts, based on historical data and my experience in coaching, are on track to meet that 90 to 100% range. So far, so good. Greg has talked a little bit about coming and, find your community, come and join your community. And this rings true, I think, especially for me, not only because you can come, meet with other like-minded people that are learning. They have maybe different backgrounds, but all have like similar goals in terms of their learning outcomes, and sometimes similar goals in terms of, what they want to do after graduation. As part of my career coaching, something that I really enjoy doing is extending that community after graduation. So the challenge is, like, you go through this intensive program, you build friendships, you build relationships, and then after graduation, the challenge might be like, hey, you're on your own, you're on an island, good luck, which is something that I want to avoid, right? And so what I purposefully do as career coach is to build smaller communities. I call them job search groups, where basically the students, I let them choose smaller pods, job search pods, and we continue that community aspect into their job searches. And this proves especially effective because, I want to make sure that people continue to be supported after graduation, not only by myself, but their peers. Number two, whenever you're doing something that might even be a little bit difficult, it's easier to do it when you're not alone, if you have other people that are there to support you along the way. So to hold you accountable, but also to provide, share resources, provide support when needed, and to cheer each other on when we achieve some level of success. And so the mental part of that job search is much easier if you're there with others that are there to support you. And this brings me to sort of like my own little case study, an example of a recent grad who graduated earlier this year into the summer. He came in super talented, hardware engineer, went through the program, but I noticed that he wasn't terribly confident going into his job search. And we started up our job search group, and initially he wasn't having a whole lot of success. He would interview, and he wouldn't get past a certain stage. And so at some point, and potentially some of you have heard this, that sort of sense of imposter syndrome kicked in. And so I think he had kind of talked himself out of searching for a job in machine learning. And so he started reverting back to his old hardware and started interviewing for hardware jobs. He eventually got an offer for a hardware job. And here's where the community kicked in, and his peers said, hey, like, you can do this, you got this, reject that hardware offer, we got you, we'll help you, we'll support you, we'll help you study. And so he did. He rejected the hardware job. He cranked up his job search again in machine learning engineering. And sure enough, within 6 weeks, he had an offer and accepted an offer as a senior ML engineer. And he was super excited. And I think his peers and in his pod were also, including myself, super proud of him. But this sort of points back to this idea of community that I think is something that separates us from other places that maybe you're looking at, which is like, we really build and foster a sense of community, and we continue that community not only once you graduate and search for a job, but also as alumni. Keep coming back, learning more, stay on that train of learning, because that we know that the tech industry moves fast and swiftly. So the power of community, that slide says it all.
Yeah, James, I really love that story. And we're getting some great questions coming in the chat. And I want to answer, curriculum and program and administrative related questions here in just a second. But we've got one that specifically speaks to one of these numbers that we just showed, this 92% employed. at 9 months. So Wizran asks, can you please explain about the people that are in this 8 to 9% who are not achieving the outcome post-graduation? Like, what happened with a lot of these folks?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that I'm continually, as I strive, because as I tell all of my students, my expectation is that all of you get jobs, 100%. I mean, that's with every cohort, I want to be clear. And so what are some of the factors that play into, that 8% potentially? It's a variety of things, really. There's a small percentage of people where it's like life stuff happens. And this is, stuff beyond our control. And I would say that, like there's a health issue, maybe there's family stuff that prevents people, they graduate, but then an event happens or something changes within their life that prevents them from searching for a new job. Outside of that, there's another selection of people that take a little bit longer to study, right? And we've seen a small percentage of people that have focused mainly on, I guess, FANG or MANG companies, which, as you can imagine, are some of the most difficult companies to get into. And through that, if they only focus on those particular companies, sometimes it can take longer for them to get into those companies, just because that's like the hardest of the hardest, positions to get. And so they'll take a little bit, knowing that they'll take a little bit more time to study. And it depends on like what their background is coming into the program. Sometimes they take a little bit. And then there's like a small sliver of people that I'm continuing to work with that maybe their confidence isn't super high. And so I'm always looking for ways in which I can improve our community and my career coaching to make sure that I move the needle, especially with those people that are a little less confident, to build that confidence so that they can move forward in their job search quicker.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Keep the hard questions coming. We love when you all engage with us on these, and we'd love to answer any questions that you might have. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about program structure now and answer a few of the questions that have popped up. This is a 16-week program. Essentially, you want to kind of plan 10 hours a week, sort of outside of class. This kind of makes up, a 15, 16-hour week most of the time, to study, to kind of get the rest of the stuff done that you want to learn, at least in a minimally sufficient way for that week's content. So, to Matt's question, can someone working full-time take this course on a part-time basis? In fact, I would say most people that take our course are selecting this in part because it's very, very approachable from, I have a full-time job and I want to do this part-time. Many boot camps out there are, you come to the boot camp and you're there full-time as if it's your full-time job. And we know there's just not a lot of people out there that have that luxury to be able to go all in on a boot camp like that. So this program specifically is designed for people that are working full-time. So great question, Matt. Additionally, I want to talk a little bit about the questions that we're getting. Williams, Udofia, is this MLE course the same as MLOps course? Or GWC 8888 asks, how should someone coordinate completing this course with beginning your MLOps course? It seems like GWC is thinking about taking both of them. And I'd like to just make a few comments on MLE versus MLOps. We're specifically talking today about machine learning engineering program, which has an MLOps component to it. And so the way to think about our MLOps program is it's simply a more advanced, more operational, more downstream into production environment program that you're essentially expected to already have your dev environment set up. You're expected to already know GitHub. You're expected to already be able to build APIs and to containerize things. And that program is really kind of uses all of that as a jumping off point, because what's interesting is when you go all the way end to end in production as an ML engineer, then all of a sudden you set up your model, with some monitoring metrics, you sort of deploy it, and then you kind of, maybe you hand it off. If it's a small team, maybe you're continuing to watch it. But what happens as you hand it off and you continue to watch it? What happens when the usage starts scaling? What happens when we have to take a closer look at operations, the operations part of ML ops? What exactly is all of that? And so we start to get into some of the more DevOps related content. We start to get into some of the more details, like when you log into a cloud computing platform like AWS, what are all of the other metrics besides your ML model metrics that you might want to monitor? Latency, serving time, making sure that you're producing the application that your users want and that people are going to be encouraged to use all the time and continue to grow their usage of. It's also focused on, as you monitor, when should you trigger retraining? So there's the scaling, there's the retraining, and there's really just starting off by being able to productionize AI applications. So this course is quite different than the MLOps course. MLOps, I would say it's more advanced in summary. MLOps at the same time as MLE, depending on your background, you might be able to do it, but generally I wouldn't recommend it unless you're an extremely special case that has lots of free time to devote to both things. It's doable, but perhaps there's a more intelligent way to solve the problem that you're looking to solve. And I'd be happy to chat with anyone about that in more detail. So I think we had a Saturday question as well, the Saturday live sessions from Halima Bulama. The Saturday live sessions run from 9 to 3 p.m. Pacific. And that's a 6-hour slot. There are a few breaks in there. Generally, that's going to include some sort of, lunch break if you're on Pacific time, some sort of longer break if you're in another time zone. But those sessions are essentially blocked for, generally we'll either run a Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. Saturday tends to be one that a lot of people like. Because they can get it done in one sitting. They can negotiate it easier if they have more complex life and family obligations and that sort of thing. Or if they're in an international time zone, this is one that they could potentially do, whereas the Tuesday and Thursday, 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific doesn't work for a lot of those time zones. Okay, so, moving forward, I want to announce also that if you sign up before the deadline, which is November 20th, 2022, you're going to have exclusive access to some amazing guest speakers for our upcoming cohorts. So these are within our upcoming cohorts. These are not public events. So these are, small, intimate community events where you're going to have a chance to directly interface, to directly ask questions to people like Andrew Ng, Chip Wen, Lawrence Moroney, Aishwarya Srinivasan, and Daliana Liu. These are all heavy hitter people within the AI and ML space. If you haven't heard of them, definitely check them out and check out some of their content. If you've done some deep learning specializations, I'm sure you know about Andrew and about Lawrence. Chip is a huge thought leader in the space. And we were actually really happy to have Chip coming in and sort of teaching a little bit about her specialty later in one of our upcoming cohorts. So if you join sooner than later, you can actually get access to some of these slots before your cohort even starts. As you see, Andrew will be there on the 29th. So if your schedule is a bit flexible and you're really into getting some face time with these amazing guest speakers who are just incredibly grateful to be able to bring to you, then consider that in your in the value proposition for the course. So there were a few other questions that we can get into now. A few of them were on prereqs. So Vivek, what are the prereqs? Well, the prereqs are a couple years of Python experience, comfortable with the basic math. Okay. You don't have to be a math guru. So this is to the, Wisran, your additional first question, does the course focus on leveraging tools or does it go into leveraging math? Answering that question in a black and white way, tools. The math underlies a lot of the modeling, underlies a lot of the tools in order to be able to truly debug a really, really complex model, you may need to understand the math that underlies models, but this is a very rare case today. Most of the time, the models simply work, and it's going to be more about the data. And this is why we focus on a data-centric approach from day one. So we're really focused more on being able to apply models and apply tools to data. And so insofar as some basic understanding of math is useful there. So for example, how do you represent an image so you can put it into a computer? That level of math is very important. You know, some simple sort of computer science, more focused math is important, but, you know, being very, very, you know, theoretical, statistically, and all of that is kind of besides the point. What you'll do is you'll allow the tools to drive you into those statistical metrics that you need to go then learn about, whether it's F1 score or it's some sort of explainability metric. Once you sort of apply the tool and you see how it can be useful to you, then dive in on the math. This is, I think, the more intelligent way to go about trying to learn this stuff in 2022. So we are going to talk about, you know, architectures, about models on some level, especially in the modeling portion. And that means, you know, convolutional neural networks, little bit of recurrent neural networks. We're going to talk a little bit more about the state of the art in computer vision. We're going to talk about basic NLP, and then we'll jump to some of the state of the art in NLP. That obviously gets us into the transformer architecture and also the diffusion modeling tools that are out there. We talk a little bit about that architecture of some of these foundation models as well. So there is some modeling, but again, we kind of focus on the very basic front end modeling, and then what's the state of the art. And let's see, what would the estimated time allocation required per week to go through the program, Carlos? I think we answered that already. I would say about 15, 16 hours a week is, you know, you're going to be in a decent spot if you come in with the right prereqs. Also, try to make sure that you've done a little bit of sklearn, a little bit of pandas, make sure you can manipulate data, make sure that you can do some very, very simple model fits. And let's see. Do we have to have prior ML background? That's sort of the answer to that question, Vivek. Does the program include SQL? It doesn't include SQL from a curriculum perspective, Iduron, but it may require that you use a little bit of SQL for your capstone project, depending on what form the data is in when you get it, where you're trying to get data from. You may want to set up a database to store your data in, and then pipe that data over into your modeling and production system. So it just depends, but there's not a formal SQL week, or there's not a formal SQL requirement, and none of the programming assignments are really focused on testing your SQL abilities. But certainly SQL is a very valuable language to be able to query databases with, and setting up your own database in your capstone is a great way to add some additional value to that. So, okay, I think, you know, basically the rest of this is sort of the online app comes in, we review it real quick. We want to get you in sort of by November 20th, which is just a few days away. So take the weekend, think about it. This will guarantee that you get into all of those great guest speakers, and you know, then you can enroll. And how you can pay, there's a couple of different options. You can pay, you know, all up front. You can do monthly installments, and we also have a contingent payment plan available to U.S. students that that qualify based on our qualifications. So one of the additional pieces that we wanted to cover today is, hey, but what if I'm not ready yet? Right? What if I'm not ready to go all in on this thing yet, but I'm still thinking about it and I still want to be learning on the side? Well, this is where FourthBrain has been really working hard, and I've been working particularly hard with the instructional team over the last year to bring you content that's going to help you get where you want to go. Remember our structured learning recommendations? Well, what these are designed to do is they're designed to help you learn what you need to learn without worrying about what certificate should I get, what should I learn next, should I learn this tool or that tool or this math or that math. It's like, no, you should learn like this. You should learn some preliminary data and modeling in Python. Okay. What does that look like? Well, we've got some content for you. We'll drop a link in the chat to some of our tools demos that we've been doing recently. Personally, I'd recommend starting with the Hugging Face demo. Check out what Julian Simon, the chief evangelist from Hugging Face, did during his event with us. Can you do that? He's got a GitLab repo that's available for you to copy and paste into your life. See if that starts making sense to you. How can you leverage a state-of-the-art tool that Hugging Face provides, like their models and data sets and spaces, tools and applications? Then I would go ahead and go over to learning ML Flow within Databricks. And, ML Flow is a great tool. You can use it right in the notebook, and it allows you to do experiment tracking and model tracking as you iterate through different types of experiments and models. You're probably doing this already. You're just doing it in a less sophisticated way. Maybe you're doing it by saving different notebooks. Maybe you're just managing this all in a spreadsheet, which is not a terrible way to go about it when you're doing it at first, very manually. However, if you want to automate some of that, this is the best way you can start creating additional value for the company you're at today, company you're at tomorrow, or even for yourself, so you can look back at models that you haven't not been able to quite find in the past, but you created at one point. So ML Flow is a very, very powerful tool. It's the most popular open source MLOps tool on the market, and we've got some great content for you to learn it. She also provides, Fei also provided an amazing GitHub repo for her ML Flow tutorial. And there are a few others on here that we'd seriously encourage you to check out as well, including data version control from Iterative. What about setting up your software development environment? Well, we've done our best to get the word out there on this one as well. We went into a ton of detail recently in our Beyond Jupyter Notebooks event that I was fortunate enough to be able to lead, but this was really a FourthBrain team effort putting together the resources for this. So whether you're on Mac OS, Windows, or Linux, we've got a great video for you to watch. That's sort of the original video. We've got some more in-depth videos for your particular operating system, whether it's Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. And we've also got a GitHub repo that walks you through step by step. So we'll go ahead and post the YouTube and GitHub links in the chat for setting up your software development environment. What should I learn next? Well, if you've got data and modeling, you've got some Python, you've got some sklearn and pandas, you've got now some Hugging Face, you've got some ML Flow, you've got some software dev environment. That means you've got command line. That means you've got VS Code. That means you're starting to get a feel for what you're going to use GitHub and Fast API for. Let's now use VS Code, use command line, go all in on GitHub version control, building APIs, and containerization. That has been the most recent event that we did. I was very fortunate again to be able to take part in this deep learning event that I did alongside two of FourthBrain's best instructors. By the way, they will be taking part in the upcoming cohort. So if you want to check out who your instructors will be, check out this event. We've got a YouTube link for this event. This is all about how to do branch development in GitHub and how to create some really cool apps using open source tech from Hugging Face. Instead of the transformers library, now you'll learn the diffusers library. And you can build your own app using the exact code that we showed in this event. Chris and Melitza did a fantastic job. This was just a week ago. So yeah, check this out. We've got the YouTube and the GitHub coming into the chat now. And then of course, once you learn all these things, how do you put it together, right? How do you do that end-to-end project? How can you choose a problem that you think is worth solving? How can you choose a data set? How can you choose a why? How can you choose something that you're excited about? We've got our pieces to the puzzle here. And if you're wondering, well, I don't quite get it. I'm not quite sure how to go about this. Well, we've got one more resource for you. This was a step-by-step tutorial that kind of went through what's the problem? Why is it a problem? Who are we building for? How are we going to measure success? And then what are we going to build to solve this problem that we've got? This is a great example for you to sort of, again, go leverage the YouTube video and GitHub link, throw it in the chat, to figure out what you should be building next. So with that, I want to thank all of you. I want to encourage all of you to apply, to ask additional questions if you have them today. We're always here to provide additional info, and to let us know if there is additional content that we could curate or build for you that might help you out in your next few steps of your journey. So with that, I'm going to stop share. And James, did I miss anything there? Is there anything you'd like to add?
I think we covered a lot. We covered a lot about, what it takes to get, to get into the course. We covered a little bit about like what it takes to get a job, and also like how to get started, like all the various resources that we have available to sort of like, kickstart, your journey. So yeah, we covered quite a bit today.
Yeah. It looks like we've still got at least a question or two popping in from the chat. Joshua Chen asks, and James, I'm going to direct this one to you. I think this is your specialty, James. Joshua asks, my main question is, what kind of portfolio should I have when applying to AI and ML job postings?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I encourage, all of our grads to create some sort of portfolio to showcase their apps, their projects, essentially their ability to do good work. This goes hand in hand with my philosophy, which I think is aligned with employers, hiring philosophy, which is show me, don't tell me. Yeah, you can, tell me that you've learned this, you can learn that, you've got a certificate for this, you've got a certificate for that. But at the end of the day, employers really want to know, can you do the job that we are asking you to do? And so your ability to showcase your work, to be able to build stuff that people can actually demo and play. And then also like, if you've got, got it connected to your repo so they can lift up the hood, so to speak, and look at your code. That speaks volumes. Employers love it. And that will go a long way towards your ability to sort of showcase your work to employers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just tripling down on that, being very transparent and open, letting employers see underneath the hood of your work, so important. And it really shows, hey, I'm proud of this work. Hey, I feel like this is some serious code that I'm writing. It may not be the best code that's ever existed, but it's code that I'm proud of. And it's a real demonstration of what I'm capable of today. So keeping that up to date and continuing to have that build in public mindset is going to be part of your long-term success. So get started today, for sure. Yura Masa, how about assessment? Is it after every class? I'm not quite sure what kind of assessment you're talking about. I assume you're talking sort of about testing and student assessment. One of the things that, I believe very strongly is that the most important thing that we can do for students is to help coach them directly on the work that they submitted. So it's not so much for us about telling you were right or wrong. It's more about highlighting what you did right in your code, what you could improve in your code, and what exactly you seem to be missing based on our expert analysis. So when we hire people to do grading, what it really is, it's more of a coaching and student feedback exercise. So I highly encourage everybody that is doing grading or coaching for us asynchronously on assignments to give very, very detailed explanations of why they provided feedback the way they did, what the students can do to improve, and really aim it at, getting better, both themselves and students. So we'll hire experts to come in and actually actively look at your code and give you real quality feedback. We're not in the habit of doing grading just for the sake of marks, although we do provide grading and assessment in terms of quantitative grades for students each week based on their programming assignment work and also based on their capstone work submissions. So there are capstone work deliverables each week, and those are also graded with, again, a keen eye on coaching and feedback. Dot Inceptions asks, will there be another cohort soon in case I can't make this one? You know it, Dot Inceptions. We will be launching another cohort just as soon as it makes sense. Likely, I would say probably in the February to March timeframe of 2023. Of course, we all want to see Andrew speak, especially in real time, and to get in on those rooms. And so hopefully we'll be able to offer something similar in the future. We're always doing our best to bring in the highest quality guest speakers in AI and ML that we can find on the planet. And so, if you're looking at an upcoming cohort, then, stay tuned to see who we can bring to you next. All right. If there are no more questions, then I think that just about does it for today, James. Thank you all for your great questions today. Thank you, James, for joining me and for, helping me put on today's event. We hope that this has been useful for you, that you've gotten some great resources to help you make a decision about our upcoming or future cohorts and to really help you along the next step of your journey, wherever it is you are and whatever it is that you're aiming at in the future. Again, we've got our upcoming machine learning engineering program that's going to be on Saturdays, starting December 3rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time. This is the one that enrollments are closing. The application deadline is due on the 20th of November. So take the weekend, start thinking it through and decide if you want in and you're ready to get after it, because now is the time. And if you want to be sort of ready to be kind of getting into that next job, spring to summer of 2023, this is a great way to sort of almost guarantee that you're going to be where you want to be come Q2, Q3, 2023. So as always, you can check out FourthBrain.ai for more information on MLE and MLOps programs. James is James at FourthBrain.ai. I am Greg at FourthBrain.ai. We're always happy to hear directly from you as potential students. That's it for today. We look forward to continue bringing you more events like this, more interactive demo events. Let us know what kind of content you'd like to see. And we have really enjoyed interacting with you today. Thanks again for all the great questions. Before you leave, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the FourthBrain channel. And until next time, keep learning. We'll see you all soon. Bye.